Hi guys, welcome back to another drawing video. Thanks for checking in. If you're new here, my name is Siobhan. This is the channel where I post videos related to figure drawing and making dynamic expressive drawings. So if you're interested in drawing and in drawing the figure in an expressive way, then stay tuned and consider subscribing because I do post a new video every week. So these days I'm trying to work consistently in my sketchbook every day and build up a gesture drawing practice. And to do that, I use a lot of online resources for poses of the model. My go-to one these days is the New Masters Academy YouTube channel. They've got a great selection of videos that are timed poses. You can follow along with their timing, or you can even just pause the video and draw for however long you want. So this week's video features two poses of the model. I will leave a link below in the description to that video. And I really just wanted to share this with you and talk a little bit more about my process for approaching drawing the figure gesturally, and also my kind of thoughts and ideas about making mistakes when I'm drawing in this way. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave any comments that you have below or any questions, and please consider giving it a like if you think it's worthwhile. And I will check back in with you at the end. When I start this drawing, I'm really letting my pencil find the major landmarks of the figure, such as the hips, the knees, and the feet. And then I work my way back up again, going from feet to knee and to hips. And very often the first pass across those main points is corrected in terms of proportion by the time I do the second pass. Proportion and placement, I should say. And in fact, that often gets corrected again and again as the drawing progresses. But for me, getting those 3 or 4 main things down on paper first will help me just to place the composition on the page and to give me an idea of the direction that I'm going in with the drawing. So in this particular pose, it's a back view of the model with a very definite tilt of the torso. So it's really important to get that curve of the spine, and that's all I'm trying to do, is trying to figure out that crucial tilt between ribcage and pelvis. So there are a number of ways that can indicate that tilt. One is the outer edge of the side of the ribcage versus the outer edge of the hips, or that curve in the line of the spine. So again, I'm working quite rough and loose and scribbly almost, very gestural lines. But I have to point out that my way or my approach to drawing, especially to drawing the figure, is to not draw a perfect illustration. So that's actually just important to me. Your style of drawing might be completely different, but for me, I'm never aiming for perfection in the sense of, say, like an academic drawing or the Florence School of Drawing. Instead, I'm trying to just draw in a way where it's a lot more loose and gestural. I am aiming to get some degree of accuracy, obviously, and I do want to hit those major landmarks so that my drawing doesn't end up being totally out of proportion. But for example, in this drawing, I could have made a number of different decisions in order to make it more perfect, but I didn't. I let those mistakes stay in. One of the mistakes that I made when I was making this drawing was I got the tilt of the pelvis versus the tilt of the ribcage slightly wrong. And that's something that, looking back on it now, it's a mistake that everybody tends to make in figure drawing, especially if you're drawing the figure from life. We try to always straighten up the model, and it's something to bear in mind. I wasn't thinking about it myself when I made this drawing. If you see this particular pose, you'll notice that the model's upper back and shoulders were way far more over to the right than my drawing shows. But whenever I make mistakes in proportion or in placements, I will either kind of redraw over that mistake. I don't mind having these mistakes in, and I usually tend to not erase anything out as I draw. Leaving them in for me is part of the drawing, and the reason is twofold. As I've talked about before, those marks leave a record on the drawing. So they're kind of an investigative record of my drawing. It tells a story about the drawing in its own way. The second reason that I like to leave them in is because it works kind of to remind me that I'm not trying to make something that has layers of correction or refinement. This is purely about process. If at the end of the process the drawing isn't picture perfect, it's fine, because the value or the most important thing was sitting down, drawing for 10 or 15 minutes and being engaged in drawing without putting a specific outcome onto it. Along with drawing gesturally, then there's definite moments in my drawing when I let a contour line take over, and I just wanted to point that out. For example, along the sides, the contour line is really, I'll put it down when I'm actually sure of the shape and the form, and when I'm engaged in looking really, really well. And it can just help contain those messy gesture lines. On my second drawing, it's a seated pose of the model, and I didn't have to worry too much about as much shading as in the first drawing. I'm never really that confident when it comes to shading. There's always the danger that I'll wind up being way too heavy-handed with shading, and then I lose all the lovely quality of the line work if I start shading too much. So I try to kind of rein myself in when it comes to shading. And in this drawing, there wasn't really any need to get too worried about it, so I focused mostly on contour lines and trying to get the overall shape down and the overall aspect or gesture of the pose. So I'll let this video play out and hope you enjoy it. If you have any specific questions, I'd love to hear back from you. Please post a question in the comments or give me your thoughts or ideas on drawing the figure in your sketchbook. I am going to do a video soon about the point of drawing the figure, and stay tuned for that one if you are interested. Stick with me till the end, see how this drawing turns out, and I will say my goodbyes at the end. So thanks so much for sticking with me right to the end and watching this video all the way through. Really appreciate it. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and consider sharing this video with someone else who you think might be interested. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.